Alright, so it's time to get the adjusted battle started. This is the remake of the Stalingrad Tug of War I uploaded a few days ago. Hopefully, you're all pleased with the adjustments, even though historically the Panzer III was way more common in Stalingrad than the Panzer IV. In fact, I think the assault gun, the Stug 3, toppled them all. It was insanely popular early mid-war. Anyway, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So, I've decided to keep the infantry at the same level. We still do 16 men for the German side. We do 20 for the Soviets. In fact, I think I could go as far to amp up the Soviets to 24 men per wave and keep the Germans at 16. The German infantry is just crack, man. They're good, okay? They know what they're doing. I'm not saying crack is good, but crack is a level of skill. Crack infantry, that's true. That's a level of veterancy. But anyway, because in the previous version of this battle, the first video I did of it, there were hardly any Soviet infantry remaining. The German infantrymen, oh, that was a big collapse right there. Killed a few men. Terrible. War is terrible. Terrible. Also, I made a joke about this hangar here being, you know, used for productive enterprises like renting out warehouses and storage. That joke went like swoosh, swoosh over your heads like a frickin' Dreamliner. It was a joke. Of course, there's no sense of capitalism in Soviet Russia. There's no enterprises being held there. I mean, unless the state owns it, but yeah. Anyway, guys. Boom, there goes the Soviet AT gun, the 47 mil. As you saw in the intro, I've given the Germans the 50 mil, so that's all good. We've got the Panzer IV with the, I think, same gun as the late model Panzer III, except it's longer, the barrel, and it could have been upgraded somehow, but it is still 75 mil, right? So, we'll see how the T-34 and Panzer IV fare against each other in today's video. In the previous one, the T-34s weren't the smartest of tanks, like they were getting stuck in buildings and stuff, but they definitely toppled the German Panzer IIIs. And I think that was all due to the AI, not the actual tank itself. Here we have a German infantryman in the building, firing away. His gun is jammed. Reload! Or it's just out of ammo. I don't know what he's doing. There we go. Back at it, Hans. He's slanging a lot of frickin' 9mm downrange. There's a lot of commies out in the open, though. That's one down. He's keeping them at bay. Michael. Anyway, so we'll see how they do today. And as I was saying, there were two Soviet T-34s active towards the end of the last round, right? And there were hardly any surviving Soviet infantry, which means, despite the fact that they had lots of tank support and that the German tanks were hardly functioning properly, from what we could tell, the German infantry kind of bested the Soviet infantry while being outnumbered and taking a lot of mortar fire from the enemy spawn. So, yeah. So, anyway, I think I've kind of settled all the differences from this round and the previous one. But the first tanks are entering the battlefield. We have the German Panzer IV. I'm not sure which variant this is. Is it the J? Panzer IV J? I'm not sure, but it's cool. It looks like a tank. Might seem like a bit of a moronic thing to say, but it does look like the typical tank. Oh, okay. It's gonna disregard that concrete structure. It's gonna bring this pipe down. Oh no, it's going to avoid it and ram the wall, I suppose. Nice. Okay. We're off to a good start. Pathfinding. Okay, so no, it's okay. It's improved. And it didn't get stuck in that building like the Panzer IIIs earlier, which got stuck in the corner. No, this one's on the prowl, man. Look at it. Oh, punch through the wall. Support the German infantry on the other side. Ramming through. Not seeing the infantrymen. Hopefully not. Yes, there we go. Before we get too stuck up on this Panzer IV, we're going to have a look at the Soviet T-34, which is taking a detour here on the edge of the map, running into a bit of a building itself, one could say. All right. I'm sure it will come unstuck later. If not, perhaps the Soviet AT gun can save the day. So as more time passes by, the Soviets are going to outnumber the Germans more and more. It's a gradual process. Okay, that 47 mil is about to have an opportunity. Let's see what it can do. Front armor, side armor. Oh, is it going to get one away? It's got its last shot right now. Oh! It might get another one. Okay, so the Panzer IV is turning its rear. There's a slim window of opportunity here. A well-placed shot could knock it out. Very well could. Very well could. What is taking them so long? It's a 47 millimeter shell. You're not loading a 202 millimeter, okay? I mean, what does it weigh? What are you fumbling with? Like, what's going on? Okay, so the Panzer IV, here's the T-34. It's gotten unstuck. So we're about to have a tank duel, unless that Soviet AT gun interferes. I don't think it will. But a second tank has been deployed. This Panzer IV is in between a rock and a hard place. We've got one T-34 aiming at its rear, together with the Soviet AT gun, and this one is just posted up right in front of it. It can see parts of the Panzer IV, but there's a train in the way, a locomotive. How are they going to solve this? This is a Men of War Assault Squad AI at its finest. And we do have the reinforcing Panzer IV, which actually did run into the building. I could see it shake a bit, and I saw some debris. So, are you coming, Valta? Are you coming? Oh, those are hand grenades. A Molotov cocktail as well. Interesting. That just literally cooled off instantly. Was that a bird? Something flew. I'm not sure what that was. Oh, Soviet mortar rounds landing close. Some Soviet troops inspecting the Panzer IV. Of course, it's lost its tracks. That's what happened in that engagement with the Soviet AT gun. Okay, how are you guys maneuvering now? We've got two Soviet tanks behind the train. This is a standoff, but it's not a Mexican one because there's another German tank missing to keep him at a, like a standstill, a stalemate, a yin yang status quo, No, this is definitely not it. Perhaps it's been knocked out. The tanks don't seem to be too interested. I mean, I know it can't move, but there's definitely a way it can shoot at the T-34. This is weird. But how are we doing with that other Panzer IV? It's moving up. It's following in the same footsteps as the other Panzer IV. We should be looking at the third and final wave of tanks coming out soon as well. Some rounds are landing close to the T-34. Could it be Soviet mortars trying to target the German infantry around it? Probably could be. So as you can tell, the German infantry has no issues whatsoever with being outnumbered. In fact, they're dominating more than half of the battlefield. So go figure. Okay, this one's going to roll up. They're going to clump up a bit. This might make it a target for that Panzer IV. Indeed, it will. It's going to hit the locomotive. But it seems like it was aiming for the one stationary behind, so I'm still a bit confused. We might see a duel behind the... or between, rather, the other two tanks. the second wave. And here comes the third and final wave. So all 6 tanks alive and active on the field, once disabled, but it won't make much of a difference, judging by how they're performing. Nice hit, didn't penetrate, went through a bunch of other objects. That one's gonna cook it off nicely. That's a beautiful hit. You can't argue with that. Oh, Molotov thrown. The other Panzer IV was smoking for a second. There goes the second or the first T-34. Another Molotov thrown. That one seems to have caught a few Soviets in the flames. That's nasty. You guys gotta work on that. Oh, but the crew's out. Oh, fuck. Okay, that's 1-1 so far. Actually, 2-1. Sorry about that. I forgot about the other one. It disappeared so quickly. But the Panzer IVs are at an advantage, but a slim one. The Soviet infantry Molotov cocktails is a bit of an advantage, as the Germans have no equivalent. That one's going to position itself over there. The other Panzer is going to move up in the rear as well. It hasn't really been combat active so far. I'm glad for the Soviets to see that they're actually just posted up back here with their final T-34. It's in a non-tricky situation or spot. It's not going to get caught anywhere. It's got a big view. Okay, let's ruin that advantage by moving. I mean, if it stayed, it could have just had great shots at the Panzer Force. Maneuvering around the buildings is just going to put you at an disadvantage, rather. But we're going to see if we can solve the issue here. Soviet infantry making gains here on the left side. Not sure. It's a bit of a standstill. Not really any major territorial changes here between the infantry. It's mostly down to the tanks right now. This T-34 might have gotten the right idea. It's coming around the flank. Will the Soviet AT gun play a role in this engagement? It's taking a god-awful long time. Oh, Molotov thrown. Oh, it's firing at something else. The infantry. The infantry is not your enemy, okay? You're meant to disable the tanks. There we go! Soviet Molotov cocktail. And done deal. That's awesome. We're at an even, not quite even, but almost even point right now, because there's one Panzer IV remaining. Of course, the German infantry is at an advantage, as the Panzer IVs have been dealing more damage to the Soviet infantry. But we're going to see if they can get a few final Molotov cocktails off. Here we go. That one didn't quite stick. That one might have done it. No, it didn't hit any vitals. You got to get it like on the engine bay, so it kind of it leaks down into the... Oh, there goes that Soviet AT gun. That was a beautiful shot, though. Loving that structure. It's so nice to have a gun in between, or below it. But no Molotovs sealed the deal on that one. Squad leader's got an AT grenade. He's going to blow himself away. Honestly, kind of shitty grenades they have at this time. They're meant to maybe not defeat these tanks, but, you know, I don't know. He's awake. A bit concussed, maybe. They got the tracks. Molotov out. That landed in the engine bay. Is it enough? It might be enough. No, not quite. But this Panzer IV is officially not moving again. We'll see if the crew gets tired of being a sitting duck. They might move out. But there's no more infantry reinforcements. This battle, I must say, has turned out much more even. It's awesome to see the infantry make such a big difference. But the Germans are still winning this battle with substantially less men. Substantially being a total of 60 less men, I think. 60. No, 40. Right, 40. Well, if there's 10 waves per side, right, then you've got 160 Germans and 200 Russians. So I'm not sure if I can even remember how many waves I had. I think there's 8, right? Or 6? I don't know. But anyway, that's the percentage difference, which is exactly 20%. Maths, dude. 20% difference. 20%. That's a lot of men. That's a whole platoon in this case. You know what I'm saying? That's pretty good. And we've got some beautiful scenery down here, downtown. Burning tanks. Definitely good for the real estate value around here, right? Such a lively neighborhood. Burning cars, that's one thing. Burning tanks, on the other hand, that's the next thing. I can't wait for them to be burning tanks in Sweden. That's gonna... Shit, I might move south to some area down there, you know? Southern Sweden, they start burning tanks. Oh boy. Wow. Can't wait to jump in on that before the prices skyrocket. Definitely worth the investment. Anyway, jokes aside, the battle isn't over. Do we want to keep an eye on what's going on? Let's do that for a second. Let's open up the minimap. And one would be the... why can't I? One would be the Soviets. Wow. Despite the fact that they had many, many more men being deployed per wave, we're looking at a total of 7 men plus mortar. 7 men plus mortar. I wonder if this Soviet mortar can even it out. Because the Germans, I don't know, looking at it, 24 maybe, more than that, 30. Shit, I don't know, I can't count that many, but we're going to continue and see where it takes us. And you were complaining about the numbers. You guys were complaining. Or not you guys, but one of you were like, oh, that's unfair. Give them more. I know my men. These are my men. Germans, Soviets, you name it. They're my men. I know how they can perform. And I made the assessment that 20 per wave for the Soviets was both realistic and logical, right? And fair, considering the, I don't know, the German, at this stage, the German MG-34 is much better as an infantry support weapon than the DP-28, right? I'm not going to argue and say the K-98 was much better than the Mosin, because that's bullshit. But, and the PPSH is one hell of a trench clearer compared to the MP40. But these are the finest grenadiers you can find. Hardcore crack Germans. Okay, methamphetamine Germans, literally. Up against Soviet farmer boys, okay, at this stage. Soviet farmer boys in white clothing. So they need the extra numbers, and I don't know what made the big difference. It's not like the German mortar has been shelling them down. No, and I don't even think the German tanks have made a big difference. I think the Soviet tanks, the ones that did do some action, or I think all of them saw action pretty much, but some more than others, of course, did more damage to the German infantry than the Soviet tanks did to the... no, sorry, the Soviet tanks did more damage to the German infantry than the German tanks did to the Soviet infantry. But also, there's a bit of a difference in terrain. The German side is quite covered. They've got a lot of cover around here. The Soviets have an open approach. So, in the end, I think the numbers make sense. But as I said before this battle began, I would be comfortable. Not that we're gonna replay this a third time, unless everyone's asking for it. I would be comfortable moving the Soviet numbers to 24 per wave. 4 extra riflemen. Perhaps 1 more machine gunner and 3 more riflemen per wave. 24. Very comfortable doing 24 versus 16. I would say my limit goes at 32. Because after 32, that's twice the numbers, right, per wave. Twice. The morale is going to come into play. The Soviets are going to be super aggressive. The Germans aren't only going to feel the firepower, but more also the pressure of being pushed back by so many Soviets. It does have an impact on the AI. Anyway, guys, there's a few extra men being cleaned up here. I think the game has come to an end. There's just 2 Soviets alive, and they've run. The Germans, this time around, in the second round, are victorious. But I have to say, the biggest tank killers in this game were the Molotov cocktails. Good job. This AT gun over here did nothing this round. Let's have a look at the German AT gun. Really did nothing. German mortar killed 3 men. Soviet mortar killed 35, and there's still so many more German soldiers. Why? Because the German soldiers did the work. Not anyone else. Not any tank. None of these. Here's casualties. The Soviets in red and the Germans in yellow. You can tell they've held a good line here. And very few have died as they've punched through that line into enemy-held territory. Lots of dead Soviets around here, but looking at it, it doesn't seem uneven. There seems to be an even amount of bodies on the ground. Probably because in the end, the difference is around 40, 50 men in total after all the waves have been deployed. So, not more. I think even less. I think like 36 or something, 38. That's not a huge number. But, anyway, hope you guys enjoyed. Do remember that Soviet mortar knocked out 35 enemy soldiers. 35. And the German mortar got, like, what? 3. 3 men. So the Soviet mortar did so much damage, and yet the Germans won. So it really shows German weaponry and current infantry tactics and skills are better at this stage. With lesser numbers, they can do more damage. And I think the tanks performed evenly across the two nations. But great to see the Molotovs used so nicely. That was a really nice touch. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys soon again. Ciao.